There's a story in the New Testament that I've always found kind of bizarre. I mean, it's about a miracle, so it's bizarre right there, but that's not what really bothers me about it. The disciples are going across the Sea of Galilee, heading into the wind, the waves are high, and they look over and they see Jesus walking to them on the water. You've all heard of this story. They're walking to the water and they're terrified and they cry out, "It's a ghost." But immediately Jesus spoke to them and he says, "Take heart, it is I, do not be afraid." Now, once their fear passes, Peter, who is kind of an excitable guy, he gets excited and he wants to join in the fun. And he says, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And Jesus says, "Come ahead." So Peter gets out of the boat and he walks on the water and he comes to Jesus. But when he saw how high the wind was, he got scared and he began to sink. And he cried out, "Lord, save me." And Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" Now, obviously, it's strange that the guy's walking on the water, but what always gets me about this story is Jesus says, "Oh, you of little faith." And I think, really? The guy, even if you took one step on water, that would be a lot of faith. Why is Jesus saying that he doesn't have enough faith when he actually there for a minute was walking on the water? But Jesus was in the tradition of Hebrew prophets, and a lot of what he did, like the Hebrew prophets, the Jewish prophets, is he would act stuff out as a kind of a story that he was telling. And so everything he did had double meanings. And it strikes me about this story when I think about it that everybody, all the time, all of us are walking on water, right? We never know what's going to happen next. We can be hit by a bolt of lightning. We run over by a car. We can lose everything we love. We can, terrible things can happen. Great things can happen. We just don't know. If you've ever talked to a hypochondriac, and I went through in my youth, I went through a very brief, horrible period of hypochondria. They make perfect sense. They tell you, people really do get ill. This really could happen, and the statistics, and they make perfect sense. In some ways, it's unreasonable to face life with confidence. And yet, of course, if you face life with confidence, if you do what Jesus says and you take hold of his hand and you walk on the water of our uncertainty, you're going to have a much better life. And part of this is because life is what's called a level 2 chaotic system. Level 2 chaotic systems are systems where you can't predict what's going to happen next because even your predictions affect the outcome. So, for instance, if I said to you, remember that Tom Cruise movie? It was based on a Philip K. Dick story where they had these people who could tell crimes and they would go and bust the criminal before it took place. Minority Report, right? The problem with that is you would go, well, wait, the guy didn't commit the crime. You arrested him for a crime you said he was going to commit, but you don't know if he was going to commit it. That's a level 2 chaos system. The prediction of the crime causes them to stop the crime, and therefore the crime doesn't take place, and the prediction is incorrect, right? The stock market is a level 2 chaos system. So you've noticed the stock market is going up, down, took a terrible plunge yesterday. It wasn't that terrible if you measure it in percentages. It's gone so far up that it was only a 3 or 4% drop, but it's climbing now today. It's coming back. And you're seeing the different reactions to it. People saying, "Oh my God," mostly the Republicans saying it's going to be fine, don't worry about it. And of course, the Democrats and the media, but I repeat myself, the Democrats and their media are saying, "Oh, it's a disaster. Trump has killed us all, is going to kill us all." The thing about in a level 2 chaos system, the reactions to uncertainty don't tell you anything about what's going to happen next. They only tell you about the person who is speaking. What do they tell you? Well, we're about to find out. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
Kurt Warner, not Tim Tebow, I thought for a minute I had gone nuts. Yesterday, I was talking about the fact that, the quarterback for the Eagles believed in Christ and it brought him back from his moment of need. And I said it was like Tim Tebow, but I meant, and Rob was saying, no, he never won a Super Bowl. And I thought, I must have gone insane. I remember him winning the Super Bowl and he was a stock boy and he was out of football. It was Kurt Warner. They even look alike, Kurt Warner and Tim Tebow. They both, but it was Kurt Warner. And the message remains the same. Have faith. Hey, speaking of faith, here are two nice things that happened to me that I just want to tell you about. One of them is last year I wrote a short story called All Our Yesterdays, a mystery story. It took place in England during World War I, and it was published in Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine. And when the Edgar Award, the nominations were announced, I was very disappointed that it wasn't nominated for an award, because I really did think it was one of my better short stories. But I just heard that it is going to be included in the Best American Mystery Stories anthology from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, which is a very prestigious anthology and really does keep stories alive. So that's like the third time I've been in it, and I was really happy to hear that. Also, I got a note today from a guy I know in the sort of speech writing staff of the White House. And I don't know if this is, I can't vouch for this, but he told me that when they were writing the State of the Union address, they read my piece about George W. Bush and the movie Batman, The Dark Knight. And that inspired them, or helped inspire them, to put the hero theme in this speech. So if that speech has an effect, it's all me. All me. All right. So I'm off after this. You're just gonna see a streak at the end of the show. My airplane, I hope it's parked outside, because in LA traffic, I'm never gonna get there in time. I'm going to Washington, D.C. for the prayer breakfast, which I really enjoyed last week. I will actually get to see from a distance, the president in the distance. So, while I'm there, right, remember I was talking about Da Vinci and how they will rent you an office? I'm not doing that. But they have another service. They have another service that is really also very good. If you're running a business, like I have a business, my writing is a business, my literary career is a business, and it runs out of my house. Not only out of my house, it runs out of a little outhouse on my patio. You guys, well, you haven't, because you didn't come to my Christmas party, but everybody else has seen it. So it really is the size of an outhouse out on my patio, and I go in there and write, and that's my business. And it's not the greatest business address, and I don't always want people writing to my home. Da Vinci now has what they call a virtual office, where they will give you a business address that is actually at a place of business that you can, if you want to, rent from them if you need it, if you need to do a meeting. So for starting at $50 a month, you can now have a what, you're looking at me like I'm Tim. No, it's a really good. Starting at $50 a month, you can have an address that people can write to, people can contact, that will be a really nice business address in your locality, and you can use it if you need a meeting. It's affordable. It enhances your image and enhances your credibility. This is the thing, because otherwise, if you have a P.O. box or you're in a strip mall, not as good. So Da Vinci provides you instant access to thousands of high-profile business addresses in impressive upper-scale office locations in all 50 states, and business addresses from Da Vinci, as I said, they start at just $50 per month. You can address to impress. I actually did not make that one up. Go to DaVinciWork.com, DaVinciWork.com/Klavan. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, where can I get an address? And how do you spell Klavan? It's K-L-A-V as in Victor, A-N. For a limited time, that will get you 50% off your first purchase. That's DaVinciWork.com/Klavan. Terms and conditions do apply, but for 50% off your first purchase, go to DaVinciWork.com/Klavan, and all the details are there. So, off topic a little bit, but I'm going to come back to this. I have to start with this Justin Trudeau thing. If you haven't seen this, it really is worth seeing. Justin Trudeau held a town hall. I'm going to get back to the stock market and the reactions to it and the FBI and all that. But Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, held a town hall and received a question from the audience, and here is his answer.
Maternal love is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look
we like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind.
Now, I'm going to come back to this at the end of the show, but I just want you to know, if anybody does that to you ever, there's a simple answer. You say, I didn't ask you how to speak. I don't accept your right to tell me what words to use. I repeat the question in the same language, answer the question. That's what you say. Whenever they do it, when they tell, Bill McGurn had a piece in the Wall Street Journal, they're trying to get rid of the Fighting Irish logo from Ireland. Just say, we didn't ask you. We don't care what you think. We will move forward as we see fit. We're not here to be told. So, all right, the stock market took a dive yesterday. I hear it's climbing back as we speak. No one, the thing about the stock market is nobody knows why the stock market does what it does. Best analysis I've heard is it has to do with this quantitative easing, where they basically force everybody into riskier stocks. And it's over, the stock market has been climbing so fast that it's kind of outstripped the assumed worth of some of the companies. But even that, the worth of the companies is just something people make up. It's just something people think those companies have. Here are two visions of what happened. First, from the Wall Street Journal, which is all about Wall Street and they know about money. They say the paradox of this correction is that it's taking place as the economy looks stronger than it's been since at least 2005 and maybe since 1999. The ISM non-manufacturing index for January rolled in at 59.9 on Monday, which means a near boom in the service economy. New orders index surged to 62.7 from 54.5 in December. The employment index hit 61.6 from 56.3. This is the latest signal that the U.S. economy has climbed to a new higher growth plateau from Barack Obama's secular stagnation. Discounting for noise in the GDP figures, the economy has grown at about 3% on an annual basis since last May. And with tax reform now kicking in, growth could be even faster in 2018. It could, at the extreme, even rise above 5%, which would be insane. Now let's travel over to our friends at the New York Times. Let's go right to Knucklehead Row. So on Knucklehead Row, of all the knuckleheads there, the knuckleheadiest has got to be Paul Krugman. I do not believe a word that comes out of him has any reference at all to the truth. Charles Blow is a hysterical girl, like a hysterical 12-year-old girl. That's one thing, but Krugman is just like saying stuff, and he's won the Nobel Prize for Economy, which apparently he deserved because before he became a partisan, he invented some theory that was very important for economists. But since then, it's all been this kind of nonsense, and he writes a piece. One day, this is 2 days, I guess, where their stocks took a dive for 2 days. Has Trumphoria hit a wall, finally hit a wall? So this is the guy who said when Trump was elected and there was a stock dip, he said, they're never going to recover. So now he says, first he goes through this long thing about how the market has nothing to do with the economy, doesn't mean the economy may be strong, there's good news, but market turmoil, and you know how it is, everything before the but is always nonsense. Market turmoil should make us take a hard look at the economy's prospects. And what the data say, I'd argue, is that at the very least, America is heading for a downhill shift in its growth rate. The available evidence suggests that growth over the next decade will be something like 1.5% a year, not the 3% Donald Trump and his minions keep promising. So we're hearing 3 to 5 from the Wall Street Journal, 1.5 from the New York Times. Let's see in the next year who comes closer to the truth. By the way, just to put this out there, Trump is foolish to keep using the stock market as an indication of how the economy works. That's on him. That's on Donald Trump, because the stock market will dip at times. It's going to go down, and then you get the blame if you took the credit. There's all kinds of good things happening in the economy that he definitely can take the credit for. He should just say it is wonderful that the stock market, we know that goes up and down, but that's a wonderful thing that it's going up. But he does take too much credit for it. So I just want to compare just overall the attitude that Donald Trump is bringing to the country after 8 years of Obama apologizing for America, and just compare it to what the Democrats are actually trying to sell you. Trump gave a speech yesterday touting the economy, and he called a worker up to talk about what he's going to do with his $1,000 bonus that he got because of the tax cuts. And here is the worker. Yeah, you got the cut? Okay.
With the tax cut and the bonus, I will be trying to save up money to start a family and eventually get a bigger house.
Oh,
so
I like that idea.
Yep.
That's good.
In terms of the bonus that corporate America received versus the crumbs that they are giving to workers to kind of put the schmooze on is so pathetic. It's so pathetic.
So there's Trump standing with the workers. The guy got $1,000. He says, hey, you know what? If I save this, if I do this right and I work, maybe I'll get a little extra pay. I can start a family. I can buy a house. And Trump is going, yeah, babe. Yeah, this is the way to do it. And what's so offensive about what Pelosi says is that they keep telling you, like Snopes has this, left-wing fact check, they call it, and Google rigs it so Snopes comes up when you Google Pelosi saying crumbs. They say, what's the context? Well, the context is envy. It's not what you have that matters. It's that the other guy has more. Who cares? What's it to me? I don't care if some guy's got $1 billion. As long as I've got what I want, what do I care? This guy's starting a family. He's not a billionaire. He's starting a family. He's buying a house. He's thinking about buying a house. He's got hope for the future. That's crumbs. It's crumbs compared to them. They got it all. You got to. It's amazing. And the other thing, even moving away from the stock market and just talking about this memo that came out that the left is trying to now this is really interesting. Now they voted to release the Democrat memo, and interestingly, all the Republicans said, release the memo. Whereas when they released the Republican memo, all the Democrats said no. I never know with this whether it's smart for the Republicans to play nice and say, we're much better than you, or they should play the same hardball as the Democrats and say, nah, we have the majority. You're not releasing it. Take a hike, bounce in. But just even the way this is going, I just want to compare the attitude of these two sides, right? I mean, here's Trump with the entire media and the Democrats selling everybody that this memo is a conspiracy, it's a nothing burger, it's a dud, right? And Trump comes out, I think this is cut, it's number 9, cut number 9. Listen to his reaction to the memo.
Or it all goes back to where it was and worse. Oh, but did we catch them in the act or what? You know what I'm talking. Oh, did we catch them in the act? They are very embarrassed. They never thought they were going to get caught. We caught them. Hey, we caught them. Oh, it's so much fun. We're like the great sleuth.
Great sleuth. He's having a great time. It's so much fun. Let's see if Chuck Schumer is having a great time. Play that Schumer clip.
We are dealing with probably the most dangerous and worst man in the presidency we have ever had in the history of this nation. But we are going to win the fight. If we can take back the Senate, that means that I will have the sole power to determine what goes on the floor of the Senate. And that will mean we will not get another backward right-wing judge on the Supreme Court, period. It means we'll be able to stop Donald Trump from putting all his junk on the floor and stop the anti-LGBT cascade of things that come into the United States Senate. So keep up the activism, keep up the protests, keep up the calling, keep up everything that you do, and we will take this country back. Thank you, and God bless you.
Chuck does not look happy. It's just all I'm saying here is history is a level 2 chaotic system, and some of the predictions and some of the attitudes you bring to it determine the history. I'm not talking about the power of positive thinking. I'm not talking about Joel Osteen stuff where you just always expect the best. I'm talking about having confidence that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, using your wisdom, cultivating your wisdom, using that to guide you, having confidence that God will be there in a fix, in a necessity, and going forward, believing that you're going in the right direction. Who's doing that right now? Who is doing that? The stock market is reacting to Trump. The stock market is a completely irrational system as far as I can tell, and it really is reacting to the absolute attitude of fun and optimism that this guy has. Sometimes where you look at him and you think, like, I don't even know what he's so happy about, but he is absolutely having a good time. Let me again compare Adam Schiff, and I have said everything I have to say about Adam Schiff. I just think he's a McCarthyite bad guy. He really is not an honest guy, and he's not an honest broker of information. But we're talking about, let's do it this way. Sarah Sanders was they were saying to her about this Donald Trump Jr. meeting that they think is treasonous and all this, and she just gave the entire Russia collusion story. She just put it in perspective. This clip is a little bit long, but it really is this is clip number 6. She puts the entire thing in perspective.
Everybody wants to try to make this some story about misleading. The only thing I see misleading is a year's worth of stories that have been fueling a false narrative about this Russia collusion and based on a phony scandal based on anonymous sources. And I think that is, if we're going to talk about misleading, that's the only thing misleading I see in this entire process. You guys are focused on a meeting that Don Jr. had no consequence when the Democrats actually colluded with a foreign government like Ukraine. The Democrat-linked firm Fusion GPS actually took money from the Russian government while it created the phony dossier that's been the basis for all of the Russia scandal fake news. And if you want to talk further about a relationship with Russia, look no further than the Clintons, as we've said time and time again. Bill Clinton was paid $500,000 to give a speech to a Russian bank and was personally thanked by Putin for it. Hillary Clinton allowed 1/5 of America's uranium to be sold to a Russian firm whose investors were Clinton Foundation donors. And the Clinton campaign chairman's brother lobbied against sanctions on Russia's largest bank and failed to report it. If you guys want to talk about having relations, which you seem obsessed with doing, look no further than there. If you want to talk about somebody who's actually been tough on Russia, look at President Trump. He wants more fracking, more coal, more energy.
So she's telling you there's wrongdoing on the Democrat side, and Trump is being tough on Russia. Now listen to what Adam Schiff says about this Russia collusion thing. Listen to what the vision that he's putting forward. Again, this is cut number 5.
As you have seen, they parroted Black Lives Matter to try to broaden the racial divide in this country. Fascinatingly, they also trumpeted the Second Amendment. Apparently, the Russians are very big fans of our Second Amendment. They don't particularly want a Second Amendment of their own, but they're really glad that we have one.
The Russians are coming! The Russians are coming!
So he's saying not only Black Lives Matter, which was virtually a creation of Barack Obama to cover up for his malfeasance in office, but he's saying our Second Amendment is a Russian. The Russians are promoting the Second Amendment, so we'll all kill each other. I mean, he's giving you not a vision of Republican wrongdoing, which would be one thing. He's giving you this complete vision that your country is completely taken over, is completely out of control. And I just want to finish this with Hillary Clinton, because if you want to be happy, I'm sure some of you are just so sorry she was not elected. Ha ha ha. But if you want to just remind yourself of how happy you are that Hillary Clinton was not elected president, she was giving a talk and answering some questions the other day. And all I'm talking about is the vision of the world, a vision that helps create the world that will be, what kind of people we elect and what kind of visions we have actually help create the world that's going to be. So Hillary is out there, and she was asked about climate change, and she was asked if women, like the old funny New York Times headline, world ends, women and blacks worst affected. She was asked if women would bear the brunt of climate change. Listen carefully to this response. This is cut 12.
With respect to the rest of the world, I would say that particularly for women, you're absolutely right. They will bear the brunt of looking for the food, looking for the firewood, looking for the place to migrate to when all of the grass is finally gone as the desertification moves south and you have to keep moving your livestock, or your crops are no longer growing, they're burning up in the intense heat that we're now seeing reported across North Africa into the Middle East and into India. So yes, women once again will be the primarily burdened with the problems of climate change.
It's the apocalypse. In her imagination, it's the apocalypse. And the girls, he's talking to all these young girls at Georgetown University, and they're smiling and nodding. Yes, well, it's going to be Mad Max, and we're going to get, and it's going to be bad for women. That's the worst thing. It's going to be unfair to women. Not only is the world going to end, it's going to be unfair to women. The stuff that you imagine, the attitude that you take into life is going to affect the way the future goes, and it's certainly going to affect the very moment you're living in. Who do you want in power? I mean, who do you want in power? The guy who thinks that tomorrow it's all going to be desert and despair, or the guy who's having a good time and thinks we're doing pretty well, which, in fact, we are. So you're probably looking at how clean my shirt is and thinking that I'm about to do a Tide ad. But no, you should have been looking at my head. This is a dollarshaveclub.com ad. Oh, we're stealing a little postmodern advertisement. The dollarshaveclub.com. Boy, today I was loading my DOP kit for my trip, and I'm choosing my razors. I think this is great because dollarshave.com has a range of razors you can take. They have one that just has 2 blades, which is their cheapest one, and it'll come, you choose it and it comes once a month or as often as you wish. Or you can choose their level 12 blade, or whatever, the executive they call it, which has 152 blades and actually takes you 3 days to shave your head. But every single nub, I'm making that up, but it's really great. That's the one I use today. It's just got a lot of blades, and it actually does give you a closer, faster shave. They've also got stuff like Dr. Carver's shave butter, which I love because I can put it on and I can actually see it's clear, so it's not like cream. You can see what you're doing. It's really terrific. You sign on to the Dollar Shave Club. I was a member long before I started doing commercials for them, years before I started doing commercials. You pick the razors. It comes every month. You don't have to worry about it. It comes with all kinds of, other things that you can get if you choose, shave butter, body cleanser, all kinds of of accessories that you can use, and it really is a great way to keep out of like going to drugstores where if you open up the razor thing, the alarm goes off and they carry you away and you go to prison for years. So if you don't want to go to prison for years, now is a great time to sign up for the Dollar Shave Club or even give one as a gift. You can get your first month of their best razor along with travel size versions of all their accessories, shave butter, body cleanser, and the rest for just $5. And after that, replacement cartridges ship for just a few bucks a month. And if you don't need them that month, you press a button and they don't come. It's the DSC starter set. You get yours for just $5 exclusively at dollarshaveclub.com/Klavan. And you're probably thinking, look at that great shave on that guy's head. And how does he spell Klavan? It's Klavan, dollarshaveclub.com/Klavan. We got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. We got an interview coming right up. If you come on over to thedailywire.com, you can hear it. If you subscribe, you can watch the whole thing on the show. And I forgot to mention, it's the mailbag tomorrow. Mailbag tomorrow. Come on over, subscribe to thedailywire.com, hit the podcast button, hit the Andrew Klavan podcast, hit the mailbag, and you can ask any question you want, religion, politics, personal problems. Answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life on occasion for the better. Come over to thedailywire.com.